I'm Sami Bell, creator of Sure Parenting, and for nearly a decade, I've helped parents break generational cycles. The key? Reparenting. Over the years, I've also learned that this work isn't just for parents, it's for anyone ready to heal the lingering effects of the past. Most of us carry protective parts that take over during emotionally charged moments, and those parts deserve compassion, not shame. When you take an unshaming approach to healing, one that empowers your inner parent to lead with curiosity and care, you begin to make allies of all of your parts, the inner critic, the overexplainer, the avoider, the judge, and more. As these parts feel seen, heard, and understood, they can return to their original valuable role, supporting you, not sabotaging you, so your inner child can finally receive the love, safety, and rescue they've been waiting for from you. Hi, and welcome back to Reparenting Realm. I'm glad you're here. Last time we explored what parts work is, how we all have different protective parts inside of us, shaped by our earliest experiences, trying their best to help us survive. Today, we're going to be answering a powerful question: why reparenting? Why is it essential, not just emotionally, but also biologically, to true healing? Of all of the different modalities, why did this one stand out so strongly to me? This episode is going to answer those questions. So, first, we should define reparenting. Reparenting means drawing on your own inner parent to become the nurturing, safe, wise presence that your system needed, but may not have consistently had access to growing up. It's not about blaming your parents. It's not about living in the past. It's about giving yourself now the compassion, boundaries, and care that were missing or inconsistent back then. The truth is, most of our parents did their best, and they did not live in a time with podcasts and social media or even Google to get insight outside of their small circle of friends who likely did parenting much the same way they did. There were no books explaining emotional intelligence or early child brain development because we hadn't made those discoveries yet. In fact, one prevailing theory at the time I was a child was that children's feelings weren't real and were just manipulation or a strong will that needed to be broken. Yikes. So I, for one, am grateful that I live now. We have our own challenges for sure, but I'm grateful for the scientific breakthroughs and the decades of research that support a more respectful and attuned parenting style. And yet, we can't go back and change things. Or can we? See, when I say reparenting, I essentially am talking about going back to the point that your small self felt overwhelmed with whatever was happening and didn't have the knowledge, tools, or support to process the heightened emotions. Who you are now taps into the most loving, compassionate, well-resourced version of yourself, and you join with that scared or overwhelmed part. You parent them the ideal way. You write a different ending to the chapter that was started when you were younger. You teach your brain in current time, hey, healing is possible. This is what safety and support actually feel like. We can reorient to this new place, this new time. We can integrate and learn from the past without carrying a shield anymore because we're safe now. This process builds a secure, steady relationship with your inner parts. They come to realize that the younger you they have worked so hard to protect is an adult now with full autonomy and freedom and wisdom and control. And they can let you become the leader of you again. Let's talk a little bit more about why reparenting matters. So the inner child is not just a metaphor. It is also a metaphor, to be clear, but it's not just that. It's also the stored memories, emotions, and patterns from our early years, held deep in the emotional centers of the brain, places like the amygdala and the hippocampus. When we face challenges now, those early formed patterns light up. We react without fully understanding why. Your hippocampus and your amygdala will actually change due to experiences in your childhood. Your amygdala in particular becomes hypersensitive to looking for threats. That is a response to what used to be. And so knowing that now, we can go in and help our brain learn a new way. So when we heal these patterns, it's not just about wishful thinking. It's based on neuroplasticity. That is our brain's ability to form new connections, to learn and grow, and to change even as an adult. When we engage in inner child work or any other parts work, we are literally rewiring our emotional responses. We are creating new pathways that allow for more calm, more connection, and more choice. And because our brain does this thing called pruning, the more that we run a certain connection and don't run another one, the more likely it is for our brain to go ahead and prune that old one and be like, we don't need that anymore, which is really good for us. Doing this kind of work, this parts work, increases emotional intelligence. It helps you to recognize and regulate your own emotions and connect more deeply with others. When you have to recognize what is happening in your own body, and especially when you're able to identify a specific part of you, you're able to cut off shame and address what needs to be addressed. When you're good at that, you become much better at doing that with other people and for other people. When somebody's having a bad day, you don't have to take it all personally. You can see that that part is trying to protect them too. And that doesn't mean that you won't maybe need to have some boundaries, but it helps you to stay more regulated instead of being overwhelmed by somebody else who's dysregulated the way that somebody might have been when you were a child. Parts work also dismantles self-limiting beliefs, like I'm not good enough or I can't trust anyone, by helping you meet the wounded parts that absorbed those beliefs so long ago. When you are able to provide trustworthiness to that part, when you are able to help that part see your value, now you have given yourself the needs that were unmet, and you can let go of those beliefs because they're no longer serving you. Parts work also builds resilience, reducing internal chaos and chronic stress by creating an internal home base of safety. Here's something to remember. Your body and brain want to heal. Your system is wise and moving towards survival and alignment every day. The reason that we can feel so stuck is because part of that process is to recognize opportunities to heal by highlighting scenes that feel similar to old hurts. Our amazing pattern detecting brains see similarity and then quickly recall all the past times that we felt that same way, hoping that we will have a different outcome this time, that we can finally understand or integrate now, even though we couldn't before. This painful reliving and spiraling is actually a method of attempted healing. The challenge is that the new situation has to be handled differently than the past situation, or we don't create a new outcome. We just solidify the old one. This is what we then often call self-sabotage or staying stuck in your cycles. Reparenting allows us to intentionally recognize the similarities between current day struggles and the past, thank the parts that brought that up, and then be the change we want our system to feel in order to heal. We can reparent the inner critic to soften and support us instead of tear us a new one. We can soothe the perfectionist that thinks everything will fall apart if we get something wrong. We can help the avoider learn that they actually can tolerate discomfort because they aren't an overwhelmed little kid anymore. They aren't alone. They aren't supposed to escape. They are just tasked with feeling, and we'll do it together. We free up space. We create the corrective experiences that we need. We relearn that we are actually very capable, and we make the spiraling unnecessary. The healing or integration goal met, our brain can then let go and let the past stay in the past. This is an incredibly powerful tool. Without reparenting, our protective parts, like the inner critic, the avoider, the overexplainer, can stay stuck in old survival roles. They jump in anytime they feel something that's even vaguely similar to a past hurt, thinking that they are defending a helpless 3-year-old. And if they were in fact defending a 3-year-old from attack, their extreme reactions would be pretty appropriate. But since we're adults now, we need our protectors to believe in our ability to protect ourselves, not think that they have to leap in and fully take over. So when you call in that inner parent to reparent these well-meaning, if maybe misinformed parts, even imperfectly, everything inside starts to reorganize around safety and trust. This creates a sense of freedom, trust, and healing that allows you to become a fully present participant in your current day adult life. That to me feels like magic. So here's some moments where reparenting can show up. When the inner critic tells you that you're failing or you're effing it all up, your inner parent can step in and say, "Ooh, I see you're scared. This is really important to you because you care about being a good parent." Remember, making mistakes doesn't make us a failure. It makes us human. We're showing our kids how to be human, mistakes and all. And we are able to show how to persist even when it's hard and messy. You're safe here. They're safe here in our messiness. When an overwhelmed part wants to numb out and your inner parent says, "Of course you're exhausted. Let's rest in a way that truly nourishes us. Let's go lay on the grass and get some sun on our face for 20 minutes or 2 minutes if there's no chance that you're going to do 20. And then we can open up the phone at that point, right? So it's not even about never numbing out. It's about including other nourishing options. When anger flares towards your child or your partner, your inner parent slows things down, validates the anger, and guides you towards a response aligned with your values. Your anger is showing you something valuable, and you have a value of respect towards your family. Let's feel inside your body and find the space of anger. What is the message? Let's convey that to our family instead. What if you feel like you don't know all of those words? And that's the whole point of being here. Okay, fair enough. Number one, I bet you know more than you think you do. You're just used to applying that knowledge to your kids or to your friends instead of to yourself. And number two, start with the 4 S's of secure attachment. Doctors Dan Siegel and Tina Payne Bryson wrote the book, The Power of Showing Up, and they condensed secure attachment into 4 S's: safe, seen, soothed, and secure. And Dr. Jason Gladys, added supported to secure because it was more appropriate for the adult-adult relationships that he was working with. So you're going to use your inner parent to say to your parts, "I see you. I hear you." That's the seen layer. "I know you have a really important reason for being here right now." That's the soothed layer. You're safe. Safe to feel, safe to exist, safe to trust. That's the safe layer. "I believe you, and I believe in you." That is the secure and supported layer. Remember, this is not about perfection. It's about practice, repair, and building trust with yourself. At this point, I want to invite you to take a few minutes after this episode to reflect. Take those 4 S's: safe, seen, soothed, secure, and supported. And I want you to make those messages your own. Okay. So if I say, "I see you, I hear you," is that how you need to hear those words? Or is it a little different for you? Come up with something you would say to make, you can start with a child because that might be easier, to make a child feel safe, to make a child feel seen. Seen and heard go together, by the way. To make a child feel soothed, and to make a child feel secure or supported. Okay. Customize those to your own needs. When you read it, it should like pull forth emotion. It should feel like a balm of like, "Oh, I've been waiting to hear that. Yeah, I needed that." Right? That's what you're going for. What do your parts need to hear? So you can literally write, "Hey, perfectionist part, I've noticed you hanging around a lot lately. What do you need to hear?" And you can write back to you from perfectionism. "Hey, Sami, this is what I'm looking for." Right? When you write, you activate 10,000 more neurons in your brain than when you're just sitting and thinking in circles. So if you're getting stuck, start writing. Free write, set a timer for 3 minutes and just scribble out nonsense that doesn't have any periods or capitalization. It doesn't matter. Writing accesses a deeper level of processing and thinking. So use that tool to your advantage and just see what comes out. If you don't like it, throw it away. Nobody has to know. Okay. But what usually happens is something pretty profound that will surprise even you. Before your parts can go through the reintegration process, they will need to hear something from your inner parent. So your goal is to start to compile your own little toolbox of those phrases that help your parts feel safe, seen, soothed, and secure, supported. Okay. You could even write a short letter to your younger self, to your 8-year-old self, let's say. You could offer words that you come up with and just notice how those feel coming from your inner parent to yourself. And then, of course, from last week, keep noticing the parts that pop up. You are bearing witness, and that is a form of connection and trust building too. Thank you for being here and for being willing to meet yourself with more compassion. Next time, we're going to talk about sneaky parts like shame and enmeshment and how they shape the way that we see ourselves and our relationships. Thanks for listening. And remember, each of your parts has a purpose and your body wants to heal. When you get curious about their messages, gently witness their pain, and create safety through your inner parent, healing begins to unfold. Until next time, be kind to yourself. You deserve it.